Now is Ken Buck, the Colorado Republican congressman who you just saw questioning Director Wray there. Congressman Buck, it's good to see you. Let me just start right there. Can you explain the disconnect between you and the rest of Republicans on the committee today that were questioning Director Wray? You seemed a lot less partisan, shall we say, than some of your fellow members.
You know, Chuck, I spent 25 years in law enforcement, 15 with the U.S. Attorney's Office, Department of Justice in Colorado. I am a big fan of prosecutors. I'm a big fan of those who wake up every morning and seek justice. And I believe that's exactly what Christopher Wray did. Are there folks in the FBI who have gone rogue and who have made mistakes? Absolutely. Is he doing his best to rein them in, admitting that there were mistakes made in FISA warrant applications and other situations? Yes, he admitted that. I think we have to do everything we can to support law enforcement at this very difficult time in American history.
Mm-hmm. Do you think this growing distrust of the FBI is due to FBI actions or the irresponsible rhetoric from some on the right?
You know, I think that there is irresponsible rhetoric on both sides having to do with law enforcement and in particular the FBI. I think that it is unfortunate that social media oftentimes magnifies the differences that we have in this country rather than how we are united. And I think that is, there are a number of problems with the FBI, but certainly the rhetoric is over the top oftentimes.
You know, Director Wray pointed this out. He said, he goes, the idea that I'm biased against conservatives seems somewhat insane to me, given my own personal background. Registered Republican. He was Chris Christie's attorney during the whole Bridgegate mess. This is somebody who, when he's not in public service, is clearly right of center. So how does that fact, that set of facts, not at least change the tone of some of people like some of these members of Congress? I won't single out names.
Well, Chuck, I think that you know, good facts never get in the way of folks that want to create conspiracy theories and increase their social media presence. And that's absolutely what happened with the FBI. I think that when you look at Christopher Wray's service in America, to his country, it is admirable. It is a person who cares deeply about this country, and whether he's a Republican or a Democrat is irrelevant. The fact that he has dedicated his life, and he mentioned this in sort of a humorous way during the hearing. He said, you know, I'm getting some feedback, I'm sorry. We have you were offered other jobs where you could have made much more money, and he says, you know, my wife has reminded me of that often. So I think we have to compliment the man and respect what he's done.
When you have the chair of the Judiciary Committee pushing for cuts to the FBI, cuts to the Justice Department because they don't like certain investigations, it does feel as if some people think an investigation is political if it's investigating a member of the party they belong to. How do you get past that?
Well, that's wrong. If there are cuts because the FBI is inefficient, because the FBI is wasteful, I am absolutely in favor of those cuts. If there's cuts to punish the FBI or to punish any agency because of a prosecution that ultimately will be decided by a jury in a courtroom, that's wrong. And I certainly won't support any cuts to an agency as a result of any kind of partisan politics.
Let me ask you this when it comes to, I mean, you're focused more on civil liberty issues involving the FBI, the FISA courts, things like that. And I think about the judge's ruling that sort of banned any government conversations right now with social media companies. Is there a congressional answer here to how the government should deal with social media companies when it comes to making sure factual information that the government needs to inform the country of gets out there unfiltered?
Yeah, I absolutely think that law enforcement agencies and other agencies have the ability and should have the ability to get information out about hurricanes, about other natural disasters, about threats to this country from within or from without. There is a legitimate role for government agencies to inform the public about threats. What we have to be very careful of in protecting civil liberties is to make sure that the government agencies aren't trying to censor information. And that's so often what we've gotten into trouble with in the last few years, and that is it disinformation or is it a different opinion? And we have to be sensitive to that.
That is talk about can be eye of the beholder.
Right.
What you just described.
It absolutely is, and it shouldn't be in the eye of big tech. We are a country that's strong because we have diverse opinions in cable news, we have diverse opinions in newspapers, in radio, and we should promote those diverse opinions and make sure that we come out with the best answer. That's what makes us so much better than any other country in the world, because we can be wrong and then get it right in the long run.
Let me ask you about the defense authorization debate. We know there's a lot of members of Congress that want to have a more thorough amendment process. Frankly, it's going to be for a bunch of amendments that won't make it into the larger bill. What is your philosophy, and what's worth fighting to get an amendment for, and what isn't, given that Republicans control 1/6 of the government, right? You know, 1/2 of the legislative branch. There's a Democratic Senate and then Republicans over there that don't agree with Republicans on some of these things in the House, and a Democratic president. How much do you push and how much do you not?
Well, I think it's what we push on, and frankly, this is a defense bill, and the Defense Department should be focused on defending the country. The Defense Department should be focused on the military needs that it has. I have a problem with the social programs that the military has gone into. I'm sure the Senate disagrees with me, and ultimately that's going to be a compromise. But I hope that we cut wasteful spending in the Department of Defense, and there's hundreds of millions of dollars of that. And I hope that we give our soldiers, sailors, Marines, airmen the training that they need and the equipment that they need so they can fulfill their mission.
Where are you on more Ukraine funding?
I'm not at this point. When I see the bill and I see what's in the bill, I absolutely think that Ukraine surviving and Ukraine thriving in this war is important. But again, I don't want to waste money. I want to see what's asked for, and I want to make sure that the mission is clear.
Where are you on Senator Tommy Tuberville holding up military promotions right now due to a Pentagon rule over abortion? Do you think that's an appropriate way to protest at this point, or do you think the point's been made and it's time to move on?
You know, I guess I don't follow what happens on the other side. For the most part, the senators are taking naps when we're getting a lot of work done in the House, so I am not that focused on it. I think that at some point we've got to move on, and we've got to make sure that this president has his nominations confirmed, just like the last president needed to have his confirmations confirmed. So I really haven't followed it that closely.
One of my favorite rivalries in Washington. It's not always the Dems versus the Rs. It can be the Senate versus the House. Very quickly, Ken Buck, Marjorie Taylor Greene, do you want her to be a member of the Freedom Caucus or not?
She's not a member of the Freedom Caucus, and she shouldn't be in the future.
What did she do to, what makes somebody a good standing member at this point, as far as you're concerned?
Well, it really isn't political views. We have had differences on votes for a long time. It is the ability to come together and have meaningful discussions every week about bills that we're going to be considering. She has consistently attacked other members of the Freedom Caucus in an irresponsible way, and as a result of that, she was kicked out of the Freedom Caucus, and she should not be a member. We have diverse opinions in the Freedom Caucus. It's not monolithic. But insofar as attacking other members, it just shouldn't be tolerated over and over again. It's not one simple attack. It's not what happened on the floor a few weeks ago with Lauren Boebert. It is a series of really poorly thought out attacks on other members.
Ken Buck, Republican Congressman from Colorado. Appreciate you coming on and sharing your views with us. Nice to talk to you.
Thank you.